Where do you see that if we focus on that sustainability trend? I mean, right now we're seeing CPOs, really having to focus on the regulatory aspect of that. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's only part of it. That's very short term. So what do you see as sort of relevant in the mid to long term as well?
Of course, this is pressured by legislation and regulation, but this also makes it mandatory, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the perception in our procurement trend radar was now that the sustainability topics, and we have mostly resource efficiency, circular economy, and CO2 management in that, more positioned in the mid-term, so to say. Yeah. So not short term, but also not long term, which is a good sign, I would say, compared to maybe a few years ago. But still, as you said, it's driven by regulation. So it's not a you can do, but it's a must. Yes. So it doesn't really matter if the peak in relevance is perceived in the midterm, but it's a must. This is I think the first one. And then when it comes to it, I think there are CO2 management is probably the hottest topic for us in procurement, but we should not forget also about these other ones. So for example, resource efficiency, we see a lot in the discussions about, for example, bio-based materials, right? To make materials more sustainable, more renewable in manufacturing, compared to those synthetic manufacturing inputs that have been used in the past. So for example, in the polymer industry, so plastics industry, we have this European regulation that mandates as of 2025 that in PET bottles you have to contain at least an average of 25% recycled polyester. So this is also where you have regulation. So it's not only the big ones like in the EU, CSRD, CSDDD. You also have, when it comes to resource efficiency, essentially a big regulation. And I think the basic discussion that you have here is you always have to consider, let's say, the price premium from the recycled material to the conventional synthetic material. You have to consider the feasibility of maybe changing the product, and of course then the timeline for such a thing. And I think there you can also see a lot of changes happening. Maybe the second one is circularity, right? Mm-hmm. So circularity, of course, you want to decrease carbon emissions and waste. It is a means to do so. But it is again also a thing to consider because we're in a market where the supply plays a bigger role. You have a tightening supply market with scarce raw materials and so on. So this is, of course, these are trend drivers, so to say, for circularity, even though there is no regulation, so to say, behind that. And I think most companies that we see where we're doing case studies with, they are already recycling, let's say, a high percentage of their production waste, or they are implementing circularity measures when it comes to circular packaging. But real, so to say, circularity in terms of the business model and in terms of inter-organizational collaboration with other companies is still a bit far-fetched. So we see first indications, I would say, in this market. For example, in the automotive sector, you have this collaboration in Catena X, which is this automotive network where they are trying to have more open exchange in terms of data and information to also foster circularity. But I would say real circularity is still a bit far-fetched in that direction.
But actually what you're seeing is that it's not too far away, and the leading organizations are already working on it.
Exactly. And the leading organizations are already moving on it. And I think this is, of course, very relevant because you need to move today, because you have very ambitious targets at times, especially then also when it comes to CO2. And as I said, for me, circularity is also a lever and a measure to go there. You start today. And I think, now we can talk also about CO2. Of course, CO2 is the hot topic for most organizations and procurement organizations. And what you see there is that a lot of companies are actually redesigning their products, or even the whole product portfolio, right, for lower carbon intensive products. And I think my favorite example here is, I don't know if you're aware of that in the UK, but we have in Germany this company Rügenwalder Mühle in the food industry, right, is one of the big meat producers in Germany, and they have pivoted very strongly to a, let's say, more vegetarian alternatives in their product portfolio. So as of today, they're already making more than half of their revenues with this new product portfolio, so to say, and not with the classic sausages.
Yes.
So, and of course, this is from the end customer perspective, but as we say in research, we think procurement and supply chains from the perspective of the end customer. So this has, again, a big impact on suppliers that you need to identify, that you need to develop, where you need to communicate, for example, the CO2 emissions reduction efforts and so on. Yeah. So we see, as you say, the impact as of today already, and not in the midterm.